Right, hi all. I'm going to show you how I've been using Chat GPT to create lesson plans. So what I've been doing is I've been experimenting quite a lot with different approaches, from just generically asking it to create me a lesson to providing it with, some very detailed pieces of information like this one here that I'm going to use today. What I've found personally is if you want a good lesson created by ChatGPT, you have to really kind of provide it with some very precise information. So let me show you what happens here. If I basically feed it this, so plan an online lesson that meets the following: title, an introduction to JavaScript, level beginner, objectives and outcomes that are all being provided, and I've told it that it should only be 60 minutes long. So here we go. Let me show you what this generates for me. Now you can see the first little bit is basically feeding back to me what I've already told it. However, what it's done is I personally like to split things down into objectives and outcomes, whereas this has decided to kind of pull it all together into a single objective. Now that's not a major issue. It's just I think Chat GPT needs to learn that about objective and outcomes just to split them apart. Now it then generates an overview of the lesson. So welcome, introduce JavaScript, the importance, and you can see some of these are what you might call very generic. They're very like overarching concepts. So show everyone variables, explain about user inputs and outputs, and conditional statements. So you can see here that what we've got is, just a very simple lesson, really. It tells you the structure. It's not giving you everything. It's not giving you like every single task that it can do. But what it has done is it's provided you with a nice little structure to follow. You can even see it's got things like, conclusions, recaps, and things like that. So that is a really simple way just to get your lesson structure from ChatGPT. Now, what I want to show you, though, to be quite honest, is I want to show you basically an alternative. So I'm just going to call this. Um, so plan lesson detailed, just to give the whole lesson there. Now, I want to show you an alternative approach. So I'm just going to show you what happens if I just give it this very basic overview of what I want. I'm going to put this on a new chat because I find that if you keep using the same chat, it will kind of use what's come above it as part of its information. So, plan an online lesson that meets the following: an introduction to JavaScript. Now, let's see what it looks like as an alternative, basically, as an alternative setup. So you can see by the end of the lesson, students should be able to understand the basics of JavaScript and apply simple scripts in web development. So because I haven't told it what my objectives are, it's made up its own. It's assumed that I want a 60-minute lesson, and then it does cover. So let's get these next to each other. Some basics. So it gives, introduction, greet the students, explain the importance of JavaScript in web development. So, pretty much gives the same thing. Overview of the objectives and lesson outcomes. Again, so it understands the introduction concept and what we should be doing. Now, we're looking here. Explain what JavaScript is and its role in web development. Discuss the basics of syntax, styles, and all of this kind of thing. Illustrate the concept of operators. Now, you can see that we've got a little bit of difference between the way that it's developing it. I mean, look here straight away. Control structures and functions. So, we're literally throwing ourselves into branching loops basically within the first 20 minutes of the lesson. So within the first, basically in 40 minutes of the lesson, we're expected to be hitting ifs and whiles and all these kind of things and functions. Can you imagine a beginner class that's hitting that level straight away? Then it goes into, hey, let's do the DOM. Okay, like what? We're barely into introduction to it, and it's hitting the DOM already. Then it says go into a 5-minute coding session, and then 10 minutes of Q&A. Then it's saying assignments, follow-ups, additional notes. Now, hopefully, I am really hoping that you are seeing a big difference here. If we are concise and say exactly what we want, let me load this up, then, if you say, look, create a structure, use these outcomes, these are exactly what I want, this is exactly what I want to say, it will give you a better lesson. So although we can turn around and just say, hey, write me a lesson, well, actually, if we learn the kind of prompts that Chat GPT works with, what we can actually do is we can very concisely and clearly tell it what structure we want. And I personally think, and I hope that you can see, that between this one here, the original one, where I've been concise about what I want, and this one here, where I've just said, give me a lesson, that is an introduction to JavaScript, we've got hopefully the start of a better lesson. Now, of course, getting your structure is not the lesson itself. That is just to give you an overview. But I think what we've got here is something very clean and concise. So I'm hoping that little video has helped you out there and helped you understand how to start planning a lesson in ChatGPT.